So basically, whenever we have Venus in Capricorn, Venus is going to have that same Capricorn-like influence. There's going to be a love for old things, a love for antiques, a love for simplicity, because Capricorn is simplistic, because Saturn is simplistic. When Venus and Saturn get together like this, it's actually pretty good for Venus, because it tempers Venus. And when Venus finds love or experiences love, it appreciates it. It appreciates the simplicity of love, the simplicity of life. Now, it doesn't mean that it won't give issues with love, because Saturn, we have to remember, is the planet of sorrow and suffering and delays. So the person can still experience that. But once they do find love or get in love, usually they really appreciate it. And people who have Venus influenced by Saturn are usually pretty good partners in marriage, because they realize, the world's tough. I'm just glad someone loves me, and I can love them, and I'm not going to expect too much. And when things go wrong, they won't get all bent out of shape, because they'll realize that nothing's really perfect. Because remember, Saturn is all about our weaknesses and our frailty. So it knows that people have their frailties, and it can love them anyway. Now, so Saturn and Venus in this position work really well together. Now, the other interesting part about this sign with Venus is just, Capricorn in general being the sign of work, it makes a person feel overly responsible for love, overly responsible for their partners, and so on. And the funny thing is that people who are either ruled by Capricorn or have planets in Capricorn, depending on what those planets represent, they will think that they have to make things happen, because, Capricorn's the sign of work. But from the Vedic perspective, and maybe it's the same for Western, I'm not sure, the real power from the chart comes from Sagittarius. And this is related to, the body parts. So, for example, Sagittarius actually represents the glutes, so the butt, basically. And that's where most of a person's power comes from when they're walking, when they're moving. And that muscle group rarely ever gets tired compared to the other muscles in the body. And Capricorn represents the thighs, actually, so the muscles around the thighs and so on. And so the thighs feel like they're doing all the work, but really the power is coming from the glutes, coming from Sagittarius. And so one of the things that needs to be learned with Venus in Capricorn is that, the person is usually feeling too responsible for the love in their life, and they're not paying attention to that idea that, how do we put it, that a person is entitled to their actions, but not the fruits of their actions. And so what the person is meant to do is to learn to surrender and to give up this idea of love and making sure everything works out with love to God, and trust in the perfect harmony of it. And once that happens, then the person usually is working with Capricorn in a very, very nice way when we have Venus in Capricorn. It's not easy, but that makes things work a lot smoother.